Hey, good afternoon, Crime Crunchies. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I am your host, Courtney C., a 27-year veteran of the media. And I want to wish all of the dads out there a happy Father's Day. We appreciate everything that you do, but a special shout out to all those single mamas who are doing the good work as well. You get an extra little day. So, we are talking about Nancy Guthrie. It is still a big mystery. I'm calling it the greatest mystery of the 21st century at this time. Nobody understands anything that has happened. Today, I want to dive in. We're going to begin by taking a look at the video that Savannah Guthrie did with Hoda on the Today Show. I'm going to be analyzing everything that Savannah says in part one and linking it to my theory that the family knows why Nancy was taken. And again, just briefly, the 5-second elevator pitch. I believe strongly that the person who the mind, the master, okay, the guy behind the whole thing, okay, the puppet master. I believe he had been contacting Savannah trying to get money. And she ignored him or didn't do whatever it was he wanted. And that this was a long tail game, that they started planning this out months and months ago. Very patient person, very educated person. I do think the ransom notes are linked to the kidnapper. And I do believe that, the family did know, because again, my number one proof is the fact that they all immediately went that very first moment when Nancy comes up missing, they all immediately go kidnap for ransom. Annie, Cam, Savannah. And typically that's not the first response when your 84-year-old mother is missing. Okay. So we're going to go through all of that. And I want to kind of mention as well that I was watching JLR because he has a lot of good information, and there was somebody on his podcast. He has folks call in live, and this person mentioned that, Annie and Tommaso have not been seen at their home, and JLR confirmed he has people on the ground who I guess have been watching, and Annie and Tommaso have not been seen at their home in weeks. Okay. Now, the caller thought that that was really strange. And her instinct, the way she was talking out, is if, my mom is kidnapped, you can't get me to leave my home. Okay. There's no way you're going to get me to leave my home. Why aren't they home? And, she thought it was odd. And I'm not judging what she's saying. I'm just sharing it because my opinion is that the family could feel like they're still under threat. And if Annie and Tommaso are not home, I feel like there could be a threat that is posed. And we're going to hear Savannah talk a little bit about that and how they left Annie's house, because everyone came in the first week or so, they were at Annie's house. She's going to talk about, how they left the house, and all this is going to play in as far as the threat. And so let me share my screen. And of course, while I'm doing that, if you have not already subscribed, please, this is your chance to do that. I really appreciate it. Hit your notification bell. I go live. I don't do recorded videos. I just go live, and I go live several times a week. It's free. I don't want your money. I don't want your super chats. I don't want your super stickers. I don't want your money. I want you to go put fuel in your tank or cookies for your kids. I just want you to subscribe. I'm really close to 11,000. All right. So let's watch. And just so you know, because it drives me crazy when people stop the video, but I am going to be stopping this video frequently because I am going to be analyzing Savannah, and I'm going to talk about her baseline, and I'm going to talk about when I feel she's not being honest. Okay. She's a very honest person, but there's a portion of this interview where I don't think she's being honest, and we're going to talk about it. So let's dive in. And just know I will be stopping this and analyzing pretty much everything she says. All right, here we go. Make sure I've got my volume up.
Take me back to the day. It was, I guess, a normal weekend for you.
Yeah.
The weekend your mom went missing. Tell me what you were doing and what happened.
Well, I had given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis. And so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a beautiful, fun night together. And then I came home.
And Carson's, I'm like, what is Carson's? I think it's a restaurant. It's like some kind of a chicken restaurant or something. They must know it in New York, all the hoity-toity folks. So,
and really, it just got home at the same time that Mike came home. We were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me, and I said, "Is everything okay?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" She said, "She's gone." And
so I want to stop because this is where Savannah starts to tell a story. Savannah cannot tell exactly what happened that day. I believe that she's been asked not to share what actually happened that first day. And so I know she's starting to tell a story that she's practiced because she looks away from Hoda. She's looking down to the left, and then she's going to start fumbling. And I want to just note before we get in this, Savannah is very articulate. She's a good speaker. So anytime that she's stumbling, that is a sign that she's telling a story and she's having to wing it.
She was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, call 911. Yeah.
Right there. Call 911. She's in a panic. I'm in a panic. Savannah is telling a story right now. She's telling a story right now. 90% of this interview, she's being honest, but I'm telling you right now, there's something about that first day when Nancy goes missing that Savannah has been asked not to talk about exactly what happened. So again, Annie's in a panic. I'm in a panic. She says, call 911.
Like I did. We've called them. They're here. And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night and that somehow, the paramedics had come.
So this is true because that could be one of your first thoughts is she had some sort of episode. She's looking at Hoda. This is absolutely one of the things that went through her mind on that first phone call.
Because the back doors were
she pauses and says, the back doors are propped open. And I think that it's true that the doors were propped open, but she went, to give herself time of, can I share that the doors were propped open?
Propped open, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back.
Which is true. She's making eye contact. And this is one of the things that this is one of the scenarios Savannah's going through her mind.
But her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things.
Which is true.
And it just didn't make any sense. So, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals.
This is not true. Okay, I don't believe that Annie and Tommy had called all the hospitals because I actually have a viewer, and I read all my comments. I have a viewer whose uncle was law enforcement, and the very first thing Annie told them was her mother had been taken. So the fact that she's saying that Annie called all the hospitals, and then she gives this total like weird comment. This is a story.
But then I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So then I started calling the hospital.
She says she starts calling the hospital. If Annie and Tommaso have already called all the hospitals, she's not going to call all the hospitals. Why would she take time and call all the hospitals if Annie and Tommaso have already done that? The cops are already at the house. Not to mention that, number one, if anybody has ever taken care of an elderly parent and you have a sibling, there's 3 siblings. They all live in different states. the first person you're going to call, even before 911, is your sibling. Hey, did you talk to mom? What's going on? And then you're going to, after you find out, yeah, I haven't talked to mom. Well, the door's open. All her stuff is here. Did she go on an errand with somebody? Okay. Annie did not do that. Annie immediately called 911. And I also am questioning whether Annie really did call 911 first. Savannah is saying that she did and that they were already there. But I really have to wonder if she really did. I think that this first part of this interview is a story. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to play it again. And the things that I've mentioned, just keep that in mind about how I think this part about that first day, the first reactions are a story.
We were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me, and I said, "Is everything okay?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What?" Yeah.
So, and this is a tell. This is a tell right here. She just said, Annie says, "No, it's not all right. Mom is missing." Okay. So if mom is missing, then why are we calling the hospitals? Okay. Missing is different than we don't know where mom is at. Okay. There's a difference between we don't know where mom is at. Mom could be at a hospital. Mom might have had an episode, but mom is missing. There's a difference in that type of description. Plus, if mom really was having an episode, mom would have called Annie and Tommaso and they would have come and gotten her.
What are you talking about? She said she's gone. And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, call 911. Yeah. She's like, I did. We called them. They're here. And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they.
And this is a really good point, Sailor. You're right. Who answers, is everything okay? Maybe Annie had a tone in her voice, but yeah, I just think that this first 4 minutes of this interview is a made up story.
Took her out the back, but her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things, and it just didn't make any sense. So, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So
why is Annie and Tommy calling all the hospitals before calling the siblings? I'm telling you right now, there's a ton of hospitals or, emergency rooms, satellite little emergency rooms and hospitals. I'm calling my siblings long before I'm picking up the phone and looking up 30 phone numbers for hospitals.
Then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time. And it was just chaos. Yeah.
And that is true. The police were there and it was chaos. The police did leave them in the house for a long time.
Disbelief.
Within hours, Savannah was making the long journey home to Tucson.
You saw Annie and Cam when you got to their house. Tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief and hugging each other. Yeah. And I think we were on the phone with the sheriff. And
okay, so here we go into, this is kind of picking up with truth now. Okay, we've had a scenario that we had to tell because we were asked not to tell what really happened that first day because they can't really go too much into detail what happened that first day. But Annie immediately tells law enforcement that I believe my mother was kidnapped. Okay, law enforcement insists back to Annie that they think that mom has just wandered off because the law enforcement who respond to these type of calls, it's very common for an elderly 84-year-old woman that, might have sundowners, have had a stroke, something going on with their brain. Very common for them to walk off. They even call it a walk off. Okay. During this time, Annie cannot get law enforcement to understand. No, you don't understand. She can't walk. She has chronic pain. Her brain is sharp as a tack. Please listen to me. This entire first day, they lose precious hours. And at this time, Cam is starting to come in. Cam gets into Annie's house first. Savannah gets in second. And I've heard different times that Savannah got into Annie's house at midnight. I've also heard that Savannah flew through Phoenix or something and got in at 2 a.m. Either way, it's late at night. She says she's on the phone with the sheriff. Savannah Guthrie is friends or has a contact with Senator Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly in Phoenix. I believe that during the day, Annie cannot get law enforcement to understand that mom has been taken. Cam, and Savannah's going to talk about this, Cam immediately says, my mother has been taken for kidnap for ransom. He and Savannah are going to have a conversation when Savannah arrives. But Savannah, I believe, during all this time, hearing from Annie that law enforcement is not listening to them, Savannah, I believe, reaches out to Mark Kelly, who she knows, and says, and I'm paraphrasing, this is my theory, my speculation, Mark, I need your help. They're not listening. I've had this whole thing going on in the background. I've got this, weirdo that emails me. They're asking for money. They're trying to shake me down. My mother is gone. I think she's been kidnapped. Law enforcement is treating it like a walk-off. I need your help, Mark. This is very serious. I'm literally flying into Tucson right now. Mark Kelly gets a hold of Chris Nanos, big man on campus. Chris Nanos, we all know he needs his beauty sleep to ride around in that Corvette of his, okay? If this is truthful and he's on the phone at midnight or 2 a.m. with Savannah Guthrie, it's because Mark Kelly shook the trees and said, you guys need to listen. There's something going on with Savannah. This is a high-risk security situation. It's the next day when they start looking and changing it to search and rescue. All right, here we go.
Trying to, really make clear from the very early moments, Annie and Tommy were saying this isn't that case that right. You are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off. Mm-hmm. My mom, her.
And she just tells us, Annie was trying to make it very clear to them. My mom can't wander off, but law enforcement that first day are not listening to her. They're not listening. They're still treating it like a walk-off.
She was in tremendous pain.
Yeah.
Her back was very bad. She was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open.
Yeah.
And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the Ring camera had been yanked off.
Yeah.
And so we were saying, this is...
Do something.
This is.
And Hoda just says, do something. See, Hoda knows what's happened. Savannah has had private talks with Hoda off camera. Her team at the Today Show, they know more of what has happened. Okay. Savannah has had to call in the big guns, literally. Senator Mark Kelly and now Chris Nanos to say, you guys don't understand. You need to listen to me. Savannah is having to literally, like I said, literally call in the big guns. You need to listen to me.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
This isn't.
And Hoda's just said, you need to do something. That was her response. You need to do something. This is Savannah talking to Chris Nanos. You need to do something. My mother has been kidnapped. And there's blood on the front porch. Now, we all know that profilers have considered it to be a somewhat of an amount of blood that could, obviously indicate she was injured. But law enforcement did see the blood on the front porch. There are scanner calls. And there, if we have time, I'd like to listen to those today. If not, I'll do it the next episode. But there are, they did notice the blood on the front porch. But if you think about the medication that Nancy was taking, blood thinners, a frail old woman, you see the bruises all over her arms and little Band-Aids. She's going to be a bleeder. And it could be a trip, a fall. It doesn't mean that Nancy's been attacked on her front porch. And the Nest camera is off, but it doesn't look like the door was broken into. It doesn't look like the whole house is pristine. It's tidy. There's no scene in the house. There's nothing to back up that a woman was kidnapped, taken from her bed. Okay. The scene looks like a walk-off. It looks like a walk-off. This team of law enforcement are like, let's just look for her. They are going to search the area. They're going to look for this old lady wandering around in her jammies.
Something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what possibly could have happened? Like, what could have happened? What went down? Did you?
I think my brother, my siblings are so amazing.
Okay, so this is where we start getting into Savannah and her guilt. She's now going to talk about her siblings. She immediately gets emotional and teary, and she starts off with a compliment. My siblings are amazing. They're superheroes, okay? Do you want to know why she's getting emotional and complimenting her siblings? Because she feels like someone who wanted her money has now taken their mother because of Savannah's financial status. In Savannah's mind, this is all because of her. I am not judging her. This is not her fault. Okay? This is not her fault. They are all victims. In her mind, she's having to look at her siblings and her nephew and her in-laws and say, I'm sorry. Our mother is gone because of my wealth and my fame. And she's feeling like she doesn't deserve her siblings to support her. And they're supporting her. They're not turning on her. She can't believe that they are supporting her, and she doesn't feel worth it, because as the interview goes on, you're going to see the entire weight of this. And from the inside of her soul, through her heart, her lungs, her nerve endings, down through her everything in her entire body, this has taken on a complete weight of the world. This is, in her mind, her fault, and she is a completely destroyed and broken person.
My brother, he spent his career in the military and worked in intelligence, and is a fighter pilot, and is brilliant. And he saw very clearly right away what this was.
Why would Cam, who lives in a completely different state, and we don't know what their dynamic is as siblings, but why? Ask yourself, why would Cam see very clearly? And she mentions he was in intelligence. Why would Cam see very clearly? If my mother was at my sister's house when we were sharing custody of her, Nana, and my sister calls me and says, Mom is missing, the last thing I'm going to say is my mother was kidnapped for ransom. They all knew what was going on in the background.
And even on the phone, when I called him, he knew.
He knew.
And he said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom.
So, and she just said he called on the phone. So this is a conversation that she had earlier in the day before they even got together. So Cam gets to Annie's house first. Savannah gets to Annie's house anywhere from midnight to 2 a.m. She just said on the phone, he said very early on, she's been kidnapped. So obviously they all talked early in the day. It did not take Cam any amount of time. There were not hours of Cam brainstorming in his mind of why Mom is gone. He knew exactly why.
And I said,
Yeah.
what? Well, why? What? And then, I mean, it sounds so like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think?
She says, I didn't want to believe. How dumb could I be? It isn't that she didn't want to believe. She emotionally cannot go there. It's too big. The terror, the onus of this is literally too big for her to handle.
Because of me. And I said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe. But I knew that.
And she just said, but I knew that. So she's confirming she knew it was, but she couldn't go there. And I don't blame her. I don't think I could go there. You know, there are cases where children are, you know, hurt and end up dead. I can't watch those stories. It's too hard for me. But she can't physically go there.
I hope not. I mean, we still don't know. Honestly, we don't know anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So I don't know that it's because she's my mom.
So this is where Savannah is trying to make herself feel better. She's like, okay, at first she's like, could it be because of me? And then she says, but I knew it was because of me. But now she's placating herself and saying, we don't really know. Okay. And this is probably what everybody's telling her in the meantime. Look, Savannah, we don't know. It's very early. We don't know. This may not be because of you, because honestly, Savannah, I mean, this could have led to a huge mental health break in Savannah. She cannot go there. She's now saying, and the emotion has ceased a little bit because now she's saying, you guys, it may not be because of me. We have to let's just let it ride out. It may not be because of me. And believe me, she's praying, God, please don't let this be because of me.
And somebody thought, oh, that lady has money. We can make a quick buck. I mean,
her voice is cracking through that. Look at that girl. She has money. We can make a quick buck. Her voice is cracking because, again, this is where the pain is. If she's the girl and she's the one that has money, I've heard $45 million supposedly. Okay. Her voice is cracking because, again, this is on her and she cannot handle it.
That would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is.
Again, she says, we don't know. And her voice cleared up because that makes me feel better. And then she says, but we don't know. And it could be because of me. And her voice cracks.
Too much to bear.
And it is too much for her.
That I brought this to her bedside. That it's because of me.
And when she says it's too much to bear, she means it more than anything in her entire world.
And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy.
Epstein has been mentioned a lot. And I definitely am not ruling that out because if you guys watch Stephanie Harlow, she's doing a deep dive into Jeffrey Epstein right now and how he has his tentacles, Ghislaine Maxwell, into a lot of, CIA intelligence stuff. And I definitely don't think we can discount that. So we have to. I don't know enough about it, but it's been brought up a lot.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to my sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew and Tommy.
I mean, look at this list of people. She says, I'm sorry. Imagine being the one who has worked all your life, has built up wealth, and now somebody has taken your mother to get money from you. Maybe he reached out to her prior and she ignored it, like a little fly swatting in the air, a little satellite floating around. And I want to be very clear. I'm not blaming her. This is not her fault, but there's no way for her to not feel that this is her fault. There's no way standing there looking at your entire family and all the children who've lost their grandmother, there's no way to not feel like this is not her fault. And it's not her fault. But in her mind, she owes everything to her family because they have not abandoned her.
My brother-in-law, I'm like, so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
In the initial days, you and your sister and brother sat together. In all the despair, you sat and managed to think of words to say. How were you able to do that in that moment?
Well, my siblings.
Hey, Mike, this happened 4 months ago. And I am all about freedom of speech. Just don't be racist or offensive. You control all you want. We'll probably just ignore you. But this happened 4 months ago. So thanks.
Are amazing. And we are a unit. And I talked about how brilliant my brother is, but my sister is equally brilliant and also has special powers of intuition. And
again, this is where she's complimenting her sister. Her sister has great, intuition. She's good with words. Her brother's looks like a very serious, like down to earth.
And faith and language and depth and heart. And I feel like we came together with all these beautiful gifts that came from our mom and dad and from God. And somehow together, we did our best to come up with the words to say.
And I also just want to go back. Now we're almost 7 minutes in. And if you notice that, it was at first like 1 to 3.5 minutes where she's looking away and she's stumbling around with her words. That is where we see her making the story up about the first day. But all of the rest of this, I believe, is real. And she's very complimentary of her brother and her sister. She's talking about how they came up with these messages all together and every single word was theirs. But I do believe that the FBI had a rein on what they could and could not say. They actually had people going in. We saw them with the camera and the computers and everything and the lighting. They actually filmed the first messages. So I believe that they signed off on what they said, but I definitely think that the FBI helped guide them. I think that they've been given advice, and I'm going to talk a lot about why perhaps they have not come out, because just don't let me forget after we're done with this. Someone remind me, don't forget to talk about why I feel like they have not come out and been more upfront in the public.
And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing that the three of us haven't decided together. It is surreal. How is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas with no shoes?
So this is where Savannah tells us, without telling us, that they have more video. She's telling us that they have more video of her mom leaving out the front door because she just said that somebody took her from her bed in her pajamas with no shoes. Okay, somebody stood over her bed. This is horrifying. Somebody stood over her bed. And this is why I am so affected by this story, because this is just a horrible fear in my mind. But if this had happened to my mother, I don't know how Savannah's putting one foot in front of the other, but somebody stood over her bed. She wears hearing aids. She probably didn't hear them. They probably had to wake her up, nudge her awake, and say, come on. Walked her through the front door or the front of into the living room, maybe staged her there. And I'm pretty sure, like we all probably have agreed, that when Nancy realizes that they mean to take her out of the house with no shoes on in her pajamas, but they're going to take her away, she probably just said, oh, hell no, and put up a fight. And that's where they probably popped her with that stupid gun. And then the bleeding started.
Without her medicine, this little person. And to beg for mercy.
In the day,
to beg for mercy. They might have heard her talking. I don't know if they could. I don't think there was sound on the video, but you 2000% know there's more video of her being taken out of the house. They're not showing us that part of the video, obviously, because it would most likely be traumatic for a lot of people. But I do want to point out that there's a pattern in the blood on the front porch that on day 53, I had a user come to me and say, this is a shoe print. On day 53, we talked about the blood on the front porch, and just in the last few days, I've seen somebody actually take that print that looked like it could be at the heel of a shoe and line it up with maybe even a wheel of a walker or a chair of some sort, because she couldn't walk. Did she take a walker? And is that wheel rolling through blood? Could it be a wheel from a walker? And I just wanted to mention that because I've always thought it was a shoe print, but maybe it does line up with a wheel from a walker. And they mentioned that it looked like maybe there were wheel marks through the gravel in the driveway. And I also want to point out that first day, we know the sheriff was not treating this as a crime scene because all their cars were in that driveway. They drove over any evidence that could have been in that gravel. And you guys, if there's somebody that's upsetting you, I can get rid of them. So just let me know if there's someone you want me to get rid of. I don't have mods because, again, as long as you're not racist or offensive, I don't mind you guys. Everyone has different opinions, but just let me know if someone's getting to be too rowdy.
That followed, multiple notes demanding payment were sent to various media outlets.
The ransom notes or ransom requests came. Did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that came. And I think most of them, it's my understanding, are not real. And I didn't see them. But, a person that would send a fake ransom note really has to look deeply at themselves.
Yeah.
And here, I think she's talking about Derek Kallela, who is acquaintances with Tommaso, because he is the only one who had been identified up to this point, sending those text messages. And we just don't know. We just don't know. There could be more to Derek. Maybe they're using him, for information. There seems like there's more to that whole story.
To a family in pain. But I believe the 2 notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're real as well. And again, because the yeah, I had to get rid of Adam. Adam's gone. So Memento is next. If Memento keeps, let's see, let's just be respectful. There goes Memento. Bye, Memento. Again, let's be respectful. These people are, this is not funny. This is very serious. Again, I don't have a problem if people differ on theory, but let's just be respectful, okay? I forgot what I was saying. Let's continue.
When the Ring camera video surfaced and you could see who that person was, just tell me what you thought when you saw those images of the person who took your mother.
I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just totally terrifying. And I can't
She can't even go there.
imagine that is who she saw standing over her bed.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her. This is what hurts the most, is what poor Nancy went through. I just can't even.
I can't. It's too much.
Yeah.
And I'm glad and grateful to the investigators and the technology companies that were able to find that video.
Mm-hmm.
Do I hope?
And it's interesting. This is how she knows that there's more on that video, because she says, you know, I'm grateful that they found the video. And this is because this is where they get a lot of their information. And this is where she's telling us there's more to this video that we've even seen. And she's grateful for the technology company who dug this video up.
At least with people of good heart and compassion, stop the irresponsible and cruel speculation that had started to swirl.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I'm glad that people saw.
Yeah.
And of course, this is where she's talking about how she's glad that people saw Porch Guy, because there's no way it could be Tommaso, because he's big, bushy eyebrows. And so, yeah, she's going to talk about how this has now hurt their family immensely, about Tommaso being pointed at.
What came to our door.
Yeah. When you talk about the cruel speculation, the whispers, the innuendo that it was somebody in your family, how did you weather that?
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stax.
And it
I
piles
really
pain
appreciate that. That
upon
means a
pain.
lot.
There are no words. There are no words. I don't understand. I'll never understand. And no one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law. And no one protected my mom more than my brother. And we love her, and she is our shining light. She's our matriarch. She's all we have.
Savannah and her family stayed together in Arizona for weeks as the media coverage grew more intense.
We had to move houses many times because people came, and not everyone is respectful, unfortunately. You know, And there was a night we had to leave in the dark in the desert.
When I first heard this, it's like, okay, that sounds a little dramatic when she says there was a night when we had to leave in the dark in the desert. And we know that they went to, you know, a more secure, I think they moved a few times actually, and they ended up in some sort of a, from what I understand, I don't know if it's a gated community, but they moved a few times. And at first I thought, well, that sounds kind of dramatic. But when you think about it, okay, Savannah had somebody trying to knock, you know, her down for money. And there was instantly people all up and down Nancy's home. But in that first month, the entire month, while all the family was there sitting in Annie's house the first week and then moving to the other houses, they would go, the YouTubers and legacy media at this time would go between Nancy's house. And then if there was activity at Annie's house, they'd all move to Annie's house. Okay. Anytime, because they did a thorough, forensic investigation in Annie's house. And then they'd all move to Nancy's house. The pool guy shows up or the pizza shows up or whatever. Okay. They were all going between the two houses, and there's a threat looming. And even Sheriff Nanos mentioned when the one or two press conferences he actually gave, and the media asked him, is there a looming threat out there for the public? The first time Nanos says no, but the second time he's asked, he says it could be. This person is still out there. And this is where I do think that I'm leaning more toward the wrench attack. I think that this is where, and Nano says we knew exactly what happened from day one. Okay. Day two, really. If they knew that from getting information from Savannah that this is a wrench attack, there is a looming threat to the entire public. If you have money, there is a looming threat. Now, looking at it from Savannah and Annie and Cameron and the children in the home, think about it. You've got all these strangers posing as YouTubers and legacy media going between Annie and Nancy's house. They know where you are. They're stuck in the house. How do they know that the mastermind or porch guy isn't standing in the crowd? Okay. If I'm thinking there could still be a threat, because now there's been no communication with the kidnapper. They've asked the kidnapper several times in those Instagram messages, we want to negotiate. We hear you. We're ready to talk. We are willing to pay. But the kidnapper did not reach out and let them know how to contact them. There was no negotiation. So in their mind, again, and I think that they're being advised by a lot of people, it's not safe. It is not safe to be at Annie's house. And one of the very first things I mentioned today, JLR is saying that Annie and Tommaso have not been seen at their house in weeks. They probably are not living there right now. Who knows if they even plan on going back? There is a looming threat that if this is a wrench attack, the mastermind has not gotten their $6 million. And who's to say that they don't strike and get the family? So when Savannah says we had to leave in the middle of the night, she's very serious about this. And I don't blame her. I would have done the same thing, because the person could blend in so easily, and I've talked about this before. How many times if someone is killed, that they don't send undercover agents, plainclothes agents into the funeral to see who's showing up? These serial killers they're very, I think that there's a pattern where they think that if they're out front, that they're safer. If they're helping with the search, that they're safer. Oh, I'm helping with the search. And it's a pattern. Hello, Glow G. Okay. I can be reached anytime at crimecrunchies@gmail.com. And I have had a lot of people reach out to me with information. If you have inside information, and honestly, if you are a law enforcement person, I would love to have you reach out to me. I would like to interview you on the show. So if that fits the bill, please email me at crimecrunchies@gmail.com. I'm always looking into the tech stuff, etc. All right, I'll stop yapping now.
Holding hands, me and my sister and brother and I get into a car waiting for us because the people outside were closing in. So we found a place that was safe, and then we couldn't really leave too much. So those days are a blur.
Yeah.
Crying and praying.
How did your family?
And I will say, Okay, again, the family is a victim. You don't know how you're going to handle the situation until it's you. I did think it was odd that for the first 30 days, they all just sat in the house hugging and crying. I think a lot of people have thought it's really odd that they weren't out hanging up flyers or doing more, or other than the Instagram messages. And again, I think that they were probably advised, and it could be because of the threat level, but it did seem odd that they weren't out front. And I have to think that they were advised not to go out in public, that there could have been a threat and may have made it harder. Now, a lot of people have asked, if you're worth $45 million, why does your mom not have security? She had security. Savannah has security, a certain amount of security in New York City going to and from work on the Today Show. But if anyone's ever had an ornery old parent, her mother had lived there for 50 years. Her mother feels like, I mean, may have never had any crime in that area, never had anything happen to her. This is her home. You're not getting her out of her home. And, they had the camera, but they didn't have the subscription. She may have said, no, I don't want to pay for this. She might have put her foot down. It's hard to say. And again, what universe do we live in where if I'm Savannah Guthrie, I think something's going to happen to my mother. Okay. That's the last thing on their mind that they would have ever thought about. It's funny. It's the last thing on their mind as far as a threat level, but it was the first thing on their mind when their mom went missing.
Feel about the way the investigation was conducted?
Well, it's still going.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
people have worked tirelessly. And we see that. Mm-hmm. But we need answers. Mm-hmm.
And again, this is where Savannah's being very politically correct, because everybody knows that Pima County screwed this thing up from the very get-go. The whole thing has been a total mess. I am very suspicious after the Buscando Corazones de Nogales search. Women came out and said that they had been searching for Nancy Guthrie since May. They got a tip on Mother's Day. Okay. And I want to point out that a lot of the tips and ransom notes have come in on specific days when Savannah does something, posts something, goes back to work. It's Mother's Day, posts something on Instagram. The person who is sending the ransom notes is watching Savannah and what she's doing. And the person who's sending the ransom notes wants attention. And it could be that things had gotten really quiet. I think that the person who kidnapped Nancy, I wouldn't put it past them at all to have been the anonymous tipster telling them where to find her body. This person wants attention. There's nothing more. This person did not get their money, but I think that there's nothing more that this person wants is to keep the whole story in the media, although the media is not playing, only the YouTubers are keeping it on. The media is avoiding it, which again makes me suspicious about why. I feel like Nanos doesn't want this solved. I don't know why. I just feel like he doesn't. With the whole thing with the Buscando Corazones, it just seems weird that he wouldn't have gotten on that more. But I don't know. I'll continue.
We cannot be at peace without knowing.
And Chris, 84-year-old women do not have Bitcoin. Okay. What this is a wrench attack is a term of, and this is happening a lot across the globe, is a wrench attack by proxy is where an organized criminal organization or people, we're finding that there are people in other countries. They will find younger people on apps such as Snapchat, Instagram, whatever. They're finding these younger people because if you're under 18, you actually go to jail a lot less than you would if you were a full-blown adult. So by proxy means that the person that they take and target doesn't have to have the Bitcoin. if Nancy's taken, Savannah has a Bitcoin. Savannah's going to pay to get her mother back. And this has actually happened a lot, where they'll take a father or a loved one or a child and they'll kidnap a family member. It's called kidnap for ransom by proxy, wrench attack by proxy. Okay. So Nancy didn't even have to have Bitcoin. And I don't know. I just feel like it's really fishy that we didn't see any of the trucks, the SWAT going down to Mexico. Seems like it would be a really good lead. Whether it works or not, you have to look at everything. Everything's on the table. I don't believe the family is behind this, but you know what? I got to leave them on the table. They got to be on the table.
And someone can do the right thing. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And our hearts are focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the family, it took them almost a month before they put up their own reward of $1 million. I think that in the beginning they had been advised not to. I think that they were advised not to automatically pay the ransom, which I'm sure that they regret doing, because it's very possible maybe on that first day that Nancy might have been alive, but communication broke down because Nancy perished. Okay. The hopeful thing right now is that there are a lot of people out there searching. And I almost want to say, if you think about it, this is a real treasure hunt, because the family's willing to pay $1 million just for having Nancy returned to the family. And Buscando, Corazana State, Nogales, they've gotten the tips. They're out there searching, but sure, they would deserve the reward if they find Nancy's body. They actually have asked for DNA from the family, because they've come across 25 unmarked graves. And again, I really think that Nancy was such a wonderful person that she would, knowing that this has been paid forward, her life has not been worth nothing, because there are 25 plus families now that are going to get answers because their loved ones have been found in this basically killing field in Mexico. And it has not been for naught that she is gone. Now, we know that there have been YouTubers recently that have been arrested. May 4th, I went to Nancy's house myself. A mile in, there was no one there. When I was there, I was the only one. And I felt like I was going to get kicked out. I really, really did, because a mile in, every street that you go in, and it's like a labyrinth of these little streets. And every street has one of those plastic little signs. And it had, no parking, whatever the words are. I need to try to find a picture what they said, but it's very clear that you're not allowed to be in there. Okay. And I'm not talking about whether the YouTuber should have been there or not. If I was there and the cops had told me to leave, I would have left and I wouldn't have come back. I'm not going to get into whether the YouTubers should have been there or not, but YouTubers have been arrested, some more than once. And I'm surprised that Savannah has not addressed them directly. I'm surprised that Savannah has not addressed the YouTubers directly, because mainstream media has stopped covering this. News Nation will cover it, and that's because Brian Enton covers it for himself, and he's associated with News Nation. But I'm really surprised that Savannah hasn't at least said thank you for everything you guys are doing, because believe me, Savannah wants this to stay in the news. Okay. I am so surprised that NBC, the owner of the Today Show, I'm surprised they're not covering it. Where's the loyalty to Savannah? NBC was sure there when they needed that exclusive interview. Okay. They were sure there when they wanted to get that first interview with Savannah and Hoda. They were there. Okay. So why aren't they paying back? If they really care about Savannah, why are they not covering this more? And I do think that I think she's being advised not to, but I feel like is so much more that the family could be doing to be out front of this. If I wanted my mother to be found, I would be sending messages directly to the searchers who are out there. We're going to take a look at some of those. I would be sending messages to the searchers. And I want to play a little bit of the private investigator. I thought this was a really good interview the other night. And he talks about who he believes are suspects. But 857 Tucson, he was arrested, and they've been doing a lot of lives. Dajus and Alex, they were arrested, and 857 Tucson, he actually said hi in my chat last week. I really appreciated him coming by. I returned the favor and went on his live the next day, and I have donated to his GoFundMe or whatever they call it, because these guys are going to have to get attorneys. And I think that maybe his situation might be different than Alex's. I think Alex was arrested a second time. But regardless of First Amendment, if there's somebody nasty in the neighborhood, Sue Ellen or whatever her name is, I am not going to go back. I'm not going to go back. Like I said, when I went in the neighborhood, there were signs everywhere. And I parked down the street where there was a little alcove that I could pull the car over. And I went up to the house and did a crappy live in front of the house because there was no cell service. And some of the neighbors were walking by with their dogs. Most of them were very nice. And the memorial was up. It was beautiful. The flowers were fresh. It smelled gorgeous. But when I was getting ready to leave, there was a woman and her husband were next to my rental car taking pictures of the license plate. They knew it was my car, okay? But the woman stood by the car until I returned and said, "Oh, is this you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just getting ready to leave." And she says, "Okay, well then I'll delete the photo." And it's like, whatever, and I think it's really sad that the neighbors are getting rid of the I'm trying to find, here it is. This is 857. Let me share my screen. They've gotten and I don't know who's getting rid of the memorial, but 857 posted this 2 hours ago today on X, and apparently he's got a contact who leaves flowers. Her name's Lauren, and every day she goes and she's putting flowers out. And Damien is his name. He posted, "Flowers gone again at Nancy Guthrie house. Memorial is spelled wrong in the note they left." So apparently somebody left a note. So from the DMs, somebody wrote, "Good morning, 857. I went by Nancy's at 6 a.m. this morning and Lauren's flowers were gone. Then I passed by again at 7 a.m. and someone had left this note. They must have been watching me because the window covers were open at the house. Please send it to DGL." And I'm not sure who that is, but basically part of this note says, maybe, I'm guessing, "I would appreciate that maybe you don't leave something at the memorial, something approved at this location. You have not received approval from Pima County, the Guthrie family, or the CFA to leave items here. Please kindly take your unwelcome surveillance and personal publicity show to the Guthrie Memorial site at KVOA." So maybe the neighborhood is wanting the TV station has the memorial that has been, I guess that the neighbors are wanting. Maybe they moved the flowers. Maybe they moved the flowers to the memorial because we're wondering where the flowers are gone. And there are supposedly notes that the family left that are gone. I mean, there were people who had drawn pictures of Nancy and made signs and all kinds of things. So let's see. Alpha Wolf. Another outlet claimed they had to clean them up because of the heat and the flowers were dying quickly, and they already had a problem with rats and other wildlife. Yes. Joe says, I've watched hours of those streams. You never know who's going to stop to report some info. It happens all the time. That's why they sit there. Okay, so basically the YouTubers sit out front because people come by and give them information. And I believe that. I think that that's how we found out about Zach and all that whole rigmarole is locals giving information. And people know stuff. People talk. It's Tucson's, you know, it's a small, biggish city. Okay, so let's go through that one. Let me see if I have any other articles that, since I've got this. I want to point out we'll play a few minutes of the private well, maybe I won't. I don't know. This is Chris McDonough. I'm sure everybody is aware of this, but I'm going to play it anyway because apparently he and Karen were down in Tucson, and it's on tonight, guys. I'm dying to see what they found out. So let me stop this so I can replay it with volume. While I'm doing that, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 15,000. I'm thinking 11,000, but I'm thinking bigger, guys. I'm thinking bigger. And here's the thing. I got an email from 857 Tucson. I'm not sure because I'd gone on his live just to say hi and that I support them and just to say hi and thank him for stopping by mine. But I think the YouTubers, especially now, are really trying to support each other because, again, from what I can see, everybody, it feels the same way I do. This story is really touching people. It's a huge mystery. And the YouTubers want to support each other because we're the only ones covering it right now. The only ones, other than News Nation and Brian Enton, you know. So if they want to get together, and I emailed Damien at 857 Tucson back, if you guys, you know, want to get together and have YouTubers, I'll go back to Tucson. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm ready to go search for Nancy. That treasure hunt, I'll go look for Nancy when it cools down if she still isn't found. And you know, I'm happy to collect the reward. So let me play Chris and I'll stop yapping.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing? Hey, you know, Karen and I always appreciate each and every one of you, and if you could hit that subscribe button to our channel, we are that close to 300,000. And let me tell you, we have spent on the ground time at Nancy Guthrie's, and I've got some stuff that's going to blow your mind. So join us Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, where Karen and I are going to break it down for you. And it's going to be an exclusive stuff that nobody has. And so hopefully we're on our way home right now, driving, as you can tell. So I kind of got to keep an eye on the road at the same time. But hopefully you can join us. And if you'll share this out with everybody, we can't wait to see you and share it on your social media networks. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, and we'll see you then.
So tonight, if you do not already, go to the interview room and subscribe tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. And another reason why I think that this might be such a great story or great show, I'm hoping for some new information. And why I think that Chris McDonough, if you're not familiar with him, he's like a lifelong investigator, and he's got contacts. All right. He has contacts. And so I have to wonder if he didn't meet with his contacts, because just like us, he's trying to figure out what is going on with Nancy. All right. He is trying to figure out just for tonight. So let's everybody go over to the interview room tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Cannot wait. I'm going to get my popcorn. But yeah, so if you are another YouTuber and you happen to be listening or listen to this on replay, please reach out crimecrunchies@gmail.com, because I would like to help collaborate. I'm happy to go back to Tucson. I mean, Nancy is a treasure, but this is a huge treasure hunt. I mean, I think of it as like, we've got the Lost Dutchman mine in Arizona. I consider her the lost heart. She has that pacemaker. Her pacemaker is still going. We need to find her. If I lived closer, I would totally be out there looking. So let me go to, I wanted to show some good news about one of the guys searching, and then we'll wrap it up. Share screen. I'm sharing the screen. Doodly doo. So this is Nino Tosconi. I have reached out to him. It's hard to get a hold of folks, but I've been trying to reach out to folks to try to get them on the show and interview them. So Nino went out all on his own, and he was one of the searchers. And, we don't hear, because no one's covering this. I didn't know that people were searching. The last I remember is that Nanos told people to not search. I mean, again, this is why this he's dumb. I don't feel like he wants to solve this, because he wouldn't take any help from Texas EquuSearch, the Cajun Navy, Texas EquuSearch. They literally have software with a company called Locate, where they would take all the drone images and pop it in their Locate. They could put a color. If they know what color Nancy's pajamas are, they put the color in, and this AI software can go through every single pixel in all those images and zero in on a color in the trees or whatever, and they could help find, a piece of material or something. So I just want to give Nino Tosconi a shout out. He went and searched over 6 days, and let's see. Okay, so this is what he said: to all my friends in Tucson, all the followers of Jacob's Dad's Gone Live, I cannot thank you enough for all the love and support you gave me during the 5-day ground search for Nancy Guthrie. Although it was a difficult task, dealing with the temperature averaging 102 degrees, watching out for scorpions, rattlesnakes, bobcats, and other desert creatures, your encouragement and constant messages of support had a direct impact on helping me and motivating me to keep going. I also cannot thank you enough for your generosity in helping offset the cost of this trip. Maybe people, gave him super chats or whatever. Over the period of 5 days, I was able to cover 53.95 miles of desert and roads. I am confident neither Nancy nor any of the suspects' gear or clothing items are located in these areas. For security reasons and for law enforcement's integrity of their investigation, I will not provide the exact location that we covered. Finally, I know many of you had followed and witnessed the events that took place between the sheriff's office, YouTube streamers, and some of the neighbors around Nancy's residence. I am not a resident of Tucson, not a neighbor of the Catalina foothills, nor a YouTube streamer. I'm just a guy trying to help locate a missing, innocent grandmother who was abducted from her bed and most likely murdered by a suspect who is still out there somewhere and who could definitely strike again. Bingo. Well, each one of you will formulate your own opinions and continue to follow this case. I only ask that you please do so with an open mind and pray it will always be about Nancy and not about the politics, egos, or the who's right, who's wrong, and the me. Bingo. Yes, yes, yes. Stay tuned, stay strong, stay focused. This case is going to be solved. The FBI is the best investigative agency in the world. And if I was a betting man, things are going to happen soon. take comfort in knowing these types of complex cases take time, but sometimes the wheels of justice turn slowly. So long for now, Tucson, Arizona, California, and the rest of the country. Until we meet again, much love. There's Nico Tusconi, and I love this. Every day he would post a little update, and this is a beautiful sand sculpture, probably AI or something. But anyway, this is awesome, and it looks like he probably gave updates every day on Jacob's Dad's Gone Live. And so let's continue to support our YouTubers. And again, subscribing is completely free. That's all I ask for, is that you please subscribe and watch. And if anyone has any information, please email me, and I would be happy to have you on and interview you. Support everybody, but thanks so much. Thank you again for watching. Thanks again, and happy Father's Day again to all the dads out there, all the single moms who are phoning it in and getting it done for those kiddos. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. I will be on tonight on Chris's interview room. I am sure I'll see all of you there, but have a great day, great rest of your weekend. And until I catch you on the flip side, toodaloo.